Today we're going to show you a little bit about the Archies kit. I have a couple of dimensions I want to show you for people that are looking to do this swap. I literally could not find any video on this, so this should be very helpful. It will also show you what kind of work there is to do. So I was actually going to do this in the driveway, and once I got the kit and started looking at everything, I'm like, okay, this thing's got to go to the shop. It needs a lot of work. So let's get started. To see, but you put this little plate in to stiffen up the frame rail, and then if you come around the inside at 19 inches, you cut it off, cut the frame. Actually, they just cut the lower part of the frame and move it, but I just moved the whole thing because I liked it. Yeah, so I just cut it and you move it in. And actually the transmission sits about 1/4 of an inch from that side and 1/4 of an inch from this side. So perfect. It's super tight. Yeah, and definitely you have to move this all the way in and box it. So basically where the frame here comes straight out, and you cut a triangle out the top and bottom and push it in. So you box it in and weld it all up. This frame rail, you actually don't have to modify at all. This mount for the hinges, you actually have to take the springs out. They run back here to hold the trunk up. I actually have to cut this a little more about where this line is and then down. And your valve cover sits right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super tight.
It's pretty tight. On to the subframe. So now that you have your flywheel and everything clearanced up under your starter, you mount the two together, which is fun, and then you start working on your subframe. You go ahead, and I use the hole saw. I use a 3.5 inch hole saw here because I'm only going to, well, when you put the piece in, you obviously lose a little bit of room. I boxed it back in. My exhaust is only going to be 2.5 coming from the headers because it's boosty boost. And yeah, you basically cut out the rest up to here, box it in. I put a triangle gusset over in the corner. He recommends that you kind of cut it off, box it, but it didn't look very great, so I said, well, I'm fabricating anyways, might as well go ahead and do it to it.
You can almost see just the tip of where it's triangulated in against the frame rails from either side. Subframe rails from either side.
I didn't have to put it at an angle like that, but it fit this good with the 45s I had cut. And so I just ran with it. Basically all you want is your exhaust to go under your oil pan. The deep part of the oil pan is over here. So basically, if you're not in your gusset and you're not under the oil pan, that's a pretty good hole.
Looks like it's around 5 3/4 of an inch to the center line from the edge of the frame.
None of the mounts, like this one or this one over here, this is cut out, but it's not bent. You gotta bend it yourself, which is fine. I had cut the backside of it and then welded it back up. because I didn't have anything. It's pretty thick stuff. I didn't have anything to bend it.
It's at least a 1/4 inch.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it, really.
As far as locating where the engine is supposed to be in order to mock up where the mounts are, let's go over some of those dimensions.
All right. From here to there, we got right about 13 from the back side of the transmission phase side of the adapter, which is pretty important because that centers you in the engine compartment. From the center bolt of the crank to this mount is 16 1/4
Oh, as the crow flies,
as the crow flies.
not like if you took a drop
Oh
fly.
yeah, no, that'd be different.
Okay,
Yeah, so, well, and also this wasn't in the way while I was making it.
Right. So the dimension should be
16 1/4.
from the center line here to the center line of the bolt.
So from here to the center of the trans is supposed to be 3.5. Mine looks a little bit low, but that was to make it level, so you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Well, it's those kind of tips and tricks that if somebody tried to do that, this end might end up higher.
Yeah, so what had happened was, in order to, like, I got everything set up, right? And this end was a little bit higher, so I had to lower it. In order to lower it, it was a little bit less than 3.5.
And you leveled that when it was...
No, I had it up on the table, and then you're finding level of, so basically, if you go across this with a straight edge, like an actual one, you'll find where the bubble is on it, with a level, and then you do the same thing for your engine. I just used the underside of these mounts here. I put the level under there, and as long as the bubble's the same, it means you're level with the subframe. So you do that, and then you find your dimension here, and as long as this and that one are the same, then you're in good shape. So I don't think I mentioned it when I was assembling everything, but the clutch actually doesn't have a pilot bearing like on normal rear wheel drive stuff. So you basically just have to center it and then put on the flex plate.
That sounds like it's going to bind up terribly trying to install.
That's what I'm saying. It was real fun putting that transmission on. But you just make sure it's looks center all the way around and then tighten it up. And it wasn't too bad. With 2 people, we could just picked it up. But I was trying to float this guy and put that on the jack at the same time, and it was like